Hey everyone, this is Nyalki here with a vlog style video with narration. I didn't announce that I was going to this event until now, but I went to the 2023 Final Fantasy XIV Fan Festival over in Las Vegas. It was a very unique experience because it was my first time going to FanFest as well as going to Vegas. So there was a lot of experiences and I just wanted to share with you guys what happened. So the first day of when I landed was on a Thursday. When I got off the plane, I immediately noticed that there was two things that stood out. One was the extreme heat that was leaking through the airport gate that really set the mood for the couple of days that I was staying there. The second thing was the excessive amounts of slot machines that are lined up around the terminal where people can get their last fix of gambling before they go home being broke. I was picked up by two of my friends that were already here and we headed off. We went to a couple of places just to get familiarized with the surrounding area, and I was mesmerized by the scenery. There was a lot of buildings with a very shiny look to them, as well as a lot of glowing signs. I was always blinded by the sheer amount of light being produced around the strip and the surrounding area. We met up with the rest of the group and we headed off to the convention center where FanFest was being hosted, and oh my god, there was a lot of people lined up just to get their goodie bags and bracelets. I'll show these later, don't worry. We managed to get our stuff and headed off as soon as possible. Afterwards, some of our friends split up from the group so they could hang out with their static, while the rest of us headed off to get some tacos from Tacos El Gordo. It was some pretty good tacos. 10 out of 10. We were at the strip, so we got to see a lot of the different stores and restaurants that were lined up, as well as the scenery. After that, we headed off to South Point to get the most degen food ever, $6 steak and eggs. It was a late dinner deal and was being served from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. We went there with most of the squad, including our 2-day friends as well. After that, we headed back home and capped day one from there. The second day starts and we headed off to the venue. Unfortunately, our FC leader woke up late and wasn't able to get to the venue on time. 2 hours later. Our friend had to pick them up, so they split up from us to take care of her. We were down to 3 people at that point. We decided to go into the venue and there was a lot of people. Like, holy crap, there was so many gamers and cosplayers in every single spot. So we managed to settle down and look at the keynote, which was the summary of what to expect from the upcoming expansion for the game, which was Dawn Trail. It was pretty nice because they added in various cool things like increasing the level cap so we have more work to do, or graphics update that will make any potato turn into a baked potato. Yeah. We got to experience the keynote with the whole gang. Yup. After that, we got to working on some of the badges. For these badges, we needed to use an app called Final Fantasy XIV FanFest, which allowed us to look at a bunch of information about the event. We used it to find various badges and use those badges to get some posters from the event. Unfortunately, this app was a buggy mess with all the location screw-ups and some feature jankiness. It is time for us to look at the various places such as Pandemonium, Old Charlian, Island Sanctuary, Razadon, and Mare Lamentorum. A lot of people had the smart idea to camp out at Razadon because it had a bunch of comfy chairs to sit on, and you can watch the event from the live stream. Pretty smart. We checked out all the in-game areas and what they had to offer before everyone got to it. After the main event, we decided it's time to check out the merch line. That was the beginning of a nightmare. That was the long wait time and the overabundance of people. We were waiting at the front entrance of the convention hall. That turned out to be a huge mistake, as lots of people would try to cut through us to leave the area, or they would talk to one of us because they wanted to ask what the line was for. We were down a person because our friend bravely explored the line up in the front in hopes to get an easier time going through the merch line. Once the doors of the merch line opened up, people were stampeding through the line in hopes to get through the line as fast as possible. It got super intense to the point where my other friend that I was with wanted to leave the line because there was a possibility of getting squished. We managed to get out and camp somewhere in front of the convention center. That was when we got a call from a friend who bravely went to the front line and said that he managed to get a time slip because the merch line got too long. So they started to separate the merch buyers into groups at that point. And then at the same time, our friend that was late just arrived and unfortunately was very exhausted from the terrible heat because the parking spot that they were at was miles away from the venue. We chilled at a very nice spot and let her cool down before letting her go into the venue. At that point, we decided to split up because the designated time for the merch was coming up. I went with my friend so I can help carry the merch for him. So the two of us went back into the battlefield. Unfortunately, two issues were present at this point. The line was still pretty long and nobody was moving. And then the other issue was that one of the guys in the front said I couldn't get in without a time card. It was only one time card per person, but luckily, an amazing person was willing to part ways with his card. I was very thankful that he did that, and if he ever watches this video, I wanted to say that I really appreciated the kind gesture, and you very much lucked out because the merch line sucked. It was a lot of people to the point where we were stuck in line for 2 whole hours. It was so long that we trauma bonded with the people around us. We talked about the game and the event in general. It was 2 dudes that were in the same FC and a couple that were hanging out together. It was at that point that I learned that the girlfriend didn't have a time card and she was helping out the boyfriend with carrying out the merch, which was the original plan for me and my friend. Kind of salty about that staff member saying that I needed one, but I'll let it slide because it was a very hectic time in there. We got our merch and left the venue in utter exhaustion. I felt bad because we couldn't do anything else with the rest of our group that we were supposed to be hanging out. We decided to go to McDonald's, get some chicken nuggies, and then headed back home just to see what we got from the merch line and also divvy up everyone's merch. After everyone got back together, we headed to the strip to check out the High Roller, which is a Ferris wheel where you can see the surrounding area of the strip. It was really pretty. I really liked it. And everyone got to have a nice little drink as well. Yummy, yummy. After we got back from the High Roller, we went to an all-you-can-eat sushi restaurant called Neko Supreme, and it was pretty good. I would say it's pretty good because the rice portion is pretty small, but the fish sizes are pretty good. They're pretty big as well. It also had a lot of Korean-inspired dishes, so it gave a nice variety, and you don't get really tired of one thing. 10 out of 10. I actually like that place. And that ended day 2 right there. Day 3 rolled around and we woke up pretty late. We didn't want to go to the venue because it was too much work and we were all pretty tired. We opted to watch the live letter on a big TV screen, which was a really good idea, and laze around on the couch. Once we were done with that, we headed off to get some nice yummy dim sum. Afterwards, we headed off to the venue. We met up with the main group and headed to our scheduled battle challenge. If you don't know what that is, it was a trial run that is not released into the current version of the game that people can try out. We had a group of 7 people, so we had to get a random that turned out to be a white mage main. The first run was very disorienting because we weren't used to the hotkeys and the setups we were on. We ended up with a good number of deaths, as well as we had a gladiator as a tank. Why? Afterwards, we did a second run with less deaths because everyone was looking at the mechanics and understanding what was going on. To be honest, it was an easy fight. After that, we headed off into the area and just to check things out. But afterwards, we headed off to Caesar's Palace through the monorail to check out the shopping area. And After that, we headed off to the food court. At this point, I started to feel somewhat sick and woozy because of all the tobacco and weed smoke that was always present. And at that point, I lost all my energy. Afterwards, we left the casino and headed off to the venue once again for the last event that all of us were looking forward to, the live Primal performance. When we got there, we pretty much had a really amazing time with everyone cheering and vibing to each of the songs. A good number of songs gives most people PTSD because of rating in general, but the bangers kept the adrenaline pumping. Watching the Primals rock out live is a completely different experience compared to listening to the in-game music, because you get to hear a lot of depth and details to each songs compared to listening on the computer. Also, you get to see a bunch of people jamming out, and it's just a completely different vibe, hanging out with a whole bunch of gamers. After we got out of the venue, most of the people that were in the venue had their ears ringing from all the noise. Afterwards, we got together as a main group and then met up with the static group and did an escape room. We only had 40 minutes to figure out the room, and I did absolutely nothing other than providing light and just being there. After the 40 minutes has passed, we ended up failing because we were one puzzle short from passing the room. The guy complimented us because we got through it in 10 minutes on the first half, which is pretty insane. So close yet so far. Afterwards, we headed off to eat some Korean barbecue from a place called Mr. BBQ, which was a amazing Korean barbecue place. My mind was pretty much shut off at that point, and I couldn't eat much. It's like, I love Korean barbecue. I would always eat that stuff. But after that, we split it up from a friend, and then we headed off to a karaoke bar. We had a super fun time. We drank a lot of soju. We sang a lot of songs like Linkin Park, Katy Perry. We tried to get our friend to sing, but he wouldn't sing. What the heck, man? After losing our voices, we headed off into the night, said our goodbyes to the static group. We got some late night Japanese baked goods and headed off home. This marks the end of day 3. Final day begins. We did nothing. We just hung around and talked about what happened throughout the last night. We grabbed some Raisin Canes and nommed on some chicken fingers. By the way, this is my first time trying it. It's pretty good, 10 out of 10. Afterwards, I said my goodbyes and headed off into the airport with a friend. I went to the terminal and got through TSA with no effort. Once I got to the other side, I grabbed a snack and a drink and chilled at the gate. After a couple minutes passed by, I felt pretty drowsy and dozed off, just past time. It should be fine, right? After waking up, I looked at the time and my heart dropped. I missed my flight! I ran to the gate and asked if the flight has gone. The person did say they called my name 3 times before closing up the gate, and the plane flew off. I was floored and bummed. I felt very ashamed that I pretty much wasted my friend's time because he took the time to drive me over to the airport. They assigned me to the next flight, which was tomorrow night. I texted what happened in the group chat and Ubered my way back to the place I was staying at. That night, I headed straight to bed just to get a good number of hours of sleep, just so it can help me for the next day. Now, the actual final day begins. Pretty much I got up, got ready, and just potatoed the whole day. I ended up playing on my friend's PS5, playing Final Fantasy 16. I don't have a PS5, by the way. A couple of the remaining group came by and hung out with us. It was a pretty good time. They ended up watching me fail at the game until it was time for them to go. After we were done, me and my friend, we headed off to play a couple of games at a place called NΣΣT. It was a pretty good arcade place that had a lot of fun things to do, such as racing games and crane games, that's what we did. Afterwards, we grabbed a bowl of ramen at a new ramen place called Ramen Tatsu, and ordered a good old tonkotsu ramen. After that, we headed off to an airport and said our goodbyes. I headed off to the same area and chilled at the same spot. This time, I was determined to stay awake and make sure I got on my flight. Which, thankfully, I managed to stay awake to board on the plane, and I made it back home. Overall, I enjoyed the trip and it was a good time. Going to Vegas for the first time was an amazing experience, and I got to hang out with my friends. Hello, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm just gonna be showing you guys what you get from the goodie bag. The only thing that wasn't inside the goodie bag was the trading cards and the wristband, but otherwise you get everything else. I just wanted to give my thanks to all my friends and the people that I met. Everyone was really wonderful. I appreciated the special moments that we had together. It was pretty fun. I'm sorry guys for not having too much footage just in general. This is mainly because people wanted to be private, and also this was a vacation for me, so I wanted to keep it low-key. But otherwise I would have recorded more, which is why you got a lot of crappy stick figure drawings. I need to practice on art in general. Yeah, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I get to come out with more videos, because this did take a very long time to make. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye bye.